Hi, and welcome to today's Zoom about being the leader of your life, a topic that I absolutely adore because we are in our lives daily, all the time, nonstop, basically. I started with leadership trainings and courses, I think it was like about 12, 13 years ago, and have had quite a few seminars in the topic. What I did notice was that it was often a bit isolated to a specific topic area when you're at work because you're leading other people, or in specific changes in companies. So it was more required for certain people than others. And of course, it's great to always challenge that and evolve and get more aware what leadership in general means and how you can apply it to your life. What I have noticed working with it more and more is that I would like to be so much more clear and also see how I can contribute people choosing every day. Because if we become the leaders of our lives, it's very different as well. Because then it's not in certain situations that you think you need a different role. You have to do something different or be something different. Things can be different and they have to do different things in different situations, of course, because if you're with your kids, it's one thing you do. And if you're with your colleagues, it might be something else. You might not be a boss or anything like that, but you can still be the leader of your life. And when you choose to be a leader, it also reflects and energetically contributes to everybody around you. And when we choose to be less, it also has an impact around you. But you're so much more of an inspiration when we are leading our lives, because it's not for only you. It's not against anybody. It includes everybody, also you. It includes even you even more, because you have to be willing to be aware of everything. That means whatever I'm choosing, I get aware of also my surrounding and all of that. It doesn't mean I think myself there. Oh, I think how they will react if I choose this. You get aware. It's like a little bit like chess playing. You have steps and you can be aware where you're heading or what energy it creates or what it creates with people, but it's not from a thinking perspective. So one topic I love in this leadership area is having 4 elements: question, choice, possibilities, and contribution. Those 4 apply in every area I work with. And in the last couple of years, 5, 6, 7 years, I've been working a lot more, including horses in training. So I do this conscious horse, conscious rider, and I add the element of being a leader of your life, because animals encourage and are asking for you to be the leader. So during those trainings, I've seen you get to train yourself in being a leader every moment. It includes this. Otherwise, basically, animals, or this time horses, do not listen to you as much or can avoid you or dismiss you if you're not willing to lead. And it's so beautifully shown. But we have this every day. If we enter a room, if we come into a meeting, everybody will sense energetically where you are, if you're happy, if you've gone through something, if you don't look so great. But it's energetically first. First language is always people perceive something. They might not know how to translate it into words, exactly know, but we will be a little bit more guarded or more open. Everybody on the planet perceives things when they enter a room. So that's where it starts. So with what energy, what can I be when I enter a room? What can I be when I come into a meeting? Am I already focused on the result? Am I willing to be in the question and receive the person? Or is my intention, I want to deliver this so we can move forward and can choose right? So this is interesting. What is your intention when you're choosing things with other people? A lot of people have this backside, like they already have a thought where it should be heading because they gain on it. And this might be so, it's okay. You can even perceive that with somebody coming with an agenda into a meeting. That's not wrong. But if you're willing to be in the question and receive the agenda, you will have much more ease addressing situations from the perspective of also being a leader instead of being the effect of things. And I love that. You can either be the choosing one or the chosen one as well in situations. You wait till somebody chooses, or you create choosing things. This is, again, the things that I love with leadership. There's so many tools to create your life. They apply in every area of your life. And the fun thing is, I see when you choose to at least start their journey of being the leader of your life, because it never ends. You will see when you're in the question, new things show up, different nuances, other questions that create other possibilities show up. And I love it because it is ongoing with you, your change, your evolution, your choices. But you'll also see how things often get smoother, easier, quicker. It's a delight to create a business when you have the 4 elements of really question, choice, possibility, and contribution. And you're not only focused often of what you not have. Like in a business, when I coach people, they have a lot of a focus of the things they have as a lack, things they want to achieve, but haven't yet, and often dismiss what they have. So there often is less gratitude. There's less of the energy that contributes to the business. And when you can change that a little bit, the perspective, and take out the lack more and more and more, we have an easier way of also choosing and creating your life and your business with much more ease. And it's not waiting on ease or hoping that it becomes more ease. It's a choice to have ease in your life and in your business. And I love the exercises and trainings I do with horses, because you will see in action, what's the difference of forcing something into action, or choosing ease, or being in the question, or having a determined goal in your head. So animals and horses, I love because they're so big. It becomes so clear. It's not like we can avoid it. You will see your actions. You will see if you're in your head and calibrating everything from your mind, or if you're connected to your body or not, if your thoughts are too much in the future or too much in the past, because then at least you're not so present. We're always a bit off. No, we're mostly a bit present, more or less. And then it's very interesting also how you apply things for the future, in what direction you're going. How does it work and function for you? In some classes, it's enough just walking with a horse to see how you're leading yourself. And this is without judgments. It's just becoming more aware how you function. Not what's right, or this is when we are so aware, this is when we are the leader. No, I can only be where I'm today, and I'm when I am willing to receive myself and also get to know where I'm truly am without points of views. It's so much easier to take the next step, the next step, and the next step. Because sometimes we learn things and they become more of a concept than integrated into you and your body, where it becomes part of your living. We sometimes think we are in the question, while more in the question in your head, instead of being the question and also asking them. So this is one part that I adore, because when you ask questions to a horse, especially when you have the space in the seminars, it's very interesting to see what happens with a question and how do you perceive the awareness that is there, not the answer. Here's again, you perceive the difference. And this I love in general. You know, when you ask questions, most people would like an answer. They would like to know what to choose. Because if I ask a question and the universe magically shows me what's right, oof, ideal. And now I can choose the right thing, right? Question for me is about receiving the awareness, information for you to be able to make your choice, because you're choosing your life. You're the leader of your life. Not, yes, I will lead after I get the right answer from the universe, because the universe knows much more than me. But who's living my life then? Me, right, with the universe. And the universe is not very interested in living everybody's life. It's your life. It's my life. That's why I see it's all about choice. And I know, I mean, I've had it too, where like, oh, choice again. Yeah. when I get synced with energetically choosing where it includes energies from everybody, you have a different awareness, you have a different ease in choosing, instead of me focusing and making sure I get this right, and as quickly and as efficient and as much profit and as much money as possible. Because like blind, you get very, very focused on certain targets, usually to accomplish that what you've decided you don't have. So you force things more into existence than asking and creating it and having all the support. And I've seen this, especially in one of the places, it's for me, one of the places, home on this planet. For me, home is where energies contribute, where everything contributes to my life. And it's not about me, or separating, and it's much more being included with everything. So where I perceive, there's a lot of amazing places on the planet where there is communion is more alive, the earth is more alive. And I have one of those places in Spain that my dog showed me where it was, and I have a horse there, and I have some of the classes I have there. And what I get to know there is how things can be created with way more ease and quicker, with less work, if I am willing to be connected with things. I can sometimes think I am, and then because it works out really well, but then when I am in things like places like that and kind of like recharge, I'm like, oh boy, I'm still too focused on getting it done and delivered, instead of like, wait, what does it mean to be totally relaxing into creation? And of course, you need to do things. That's not it. But one thing sometimes when we are in a to do, we also put up barriers into receiving the contribution that is often there for us. Sometimes we do have to ask for it. Sometimes we do have to lower our barriers. So one thing I do, both when I facilitate or when I work with people or when I'm out with animals, especially when I work with animals, because it becomes so clear. This is what I think when I facilitate or work with people in general, we have our minds more active and we're analyzing more, we're thinking more, and we're more here, no? And when I get to work with horses, for example, before I worked a lot more with dogs, and then horses came in from live, and I'm like, oh, this becomes even more clear, because you can dismiss a dog in a different way and handle a dog also with a bit of more power and all that. A horse, if a horse doesn't want to do something, good luck. They're big, they're strong, and it's clear. And we're not there to force anything. We're not there to convince them. We're there to invite them, but also invite ourselves. And that is the beauty, to see how much ease it can be when you get aware what is also possible for you. So those are the trainings I do with horses to become more aware. How does question really work? What's the difference if I have my barriers up or my barriers are down? When I contribute to a body, how do I perceive that? And what is the energy of gifting and receiving? And totally clear as well. But I love asking questions, because that's one of the things that people have, I would say, challenging in trusting their awareness, what they receive, because their awareness is not like something fixed or this is the right answer. It is very changeable all the time. It's just awareness information for this moment that you can choose, and it might change tomorrow, but there's not so much significance in this is the right information, this is the wrong one. And when I, for example, get to work with animals that are maybe have a hard time or have an issue or are unhealthy or things like that, it's very easy to conclude why they're that. Very easy, because we learn certain things as well. Oh, the food or this or whatever. And when you allow your head to be more empty and start asking questions, animals also, and the horse, for example, can give you information that you might not have been willing to receive. And this is the same for us, because we often conclude and project things at ourselves or at other people. And when I work, for example, with groups of people or with leadership trainings, it's super important to be aware of, if I want to lead people, and drive them forward instead of dragging them along and not convincing them and controlling them. So for example, I live in Sweden, for example, now, and I've worked also in Germany a lot and German-speaking countries. There's a lot of this control on employees. Sweden has a little bit, we have this more tendency, we should all be friends and equal. That's our general thing in our country, what means that even if I'm your boss, we should be like buddies more. And then there's a part of leadership. How do they do that to create leadership? Because sometimes you do have to choose things. And then when you look at other countries, they're much more as a normal state of working. They have to be the boss controlling you so you do the right thing in your job. That also means they control the possibilities that you could be delivering and creating, because you are pushed into and forced into delivering exactly what you're signed up to do. And when we go over to being conscious leaders or leadership, it goes away from being the boss and controlling into question, also allowing people to fail. This is a big one for most people, because this they will avoid always. Because if I'm the boss or the leader and I allow you to fail, for most people, that means I did a bad job to the other bosses, because I'm supposed to be the one managing you, so you are doing the right thing. But sometimes, and this is the awareness you have to be willing to have, is if you allow somebody to fail, they will get a lot more information. And it, of course, it's different from every situation, what that means, the failing. But if you perceive that that person needs to learn this thing, and it's called failing, they can also be empowered by themselves for allowing them to go through something, to learn from it and move forward. And if you're a boss, you have to prevent that all the time. You're constantly put in a box of right and wrong, right and wrong, right and wrong, and have to deliver that all the time. That means also you have to exclude everything that could be brilliant, that could be outside of that box that you could be delivering. And that's fascinating to me when people step into that leadership and are willing to empower people, also drive them in a direction. We're heading towards this. Of course, we have goals and we have budgets and all of those things. Within that, there is room. We all know that people's brilliance and capacities will not always be from 8 to 4 and all that, and sitting on a chair and all that things. It can be between meetings. It can be that in some companies, they even force you to be away from your working space. You maybe have a creative space, or after COVID, some people also have a lot more working from home, of course. But they try to encourage you to do things outside of your box, because they know your brain gets more activity and gets creative in different ways, in different environments, and not from this autopilot. But a leader that is willing to do that has a certain trust in a process as well. And of course, being clear on deadlines, being clear on budgets, and being clear and having good communication. But it doesn't mean that people deliver less just because you give them space. But you have to see what works. And this is where you are in the question. You do empower and also allow to fail. I see that a lot with people that work in teams or have a team working for them, they constantly focus on making sure things are done and in the right way and all that, instead of also allowing people to go beyond that, try things. How should you know if it works or not if we don't try? Yes, you might have tried it before, and it's up to you, of course. But this is where it is so beautiful to see when there is space to choose, space for people to breathe and do it in a different way. And this is also including yourself. Do you allow yourself to have space to breathe? And when I say space to breathe, it's also space to be, to live, to be creative, to not always be hard on yourself, like really hitting yourself. You have to deliver, you have to be excellent, you have to be perfect, you have to, all these things that we sometimes drill ourselves with. And I've noticed myself, when I became less hard and controlling on myself, I created more. I created so much more. And when I let go of the German efficiency that I grew up with, and I had to really be very clear with that when I work with people from Germany. I'm not asking for them to be efficient. I'm asking for them to be aware and create with awareness, instead of like, if they go out and market something, they want to be everything at once and we've done and we're very efficient. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that you created anything. And this is the beauty of being in the question, and also being aware of the energy, where it flows. Where is that an engagement that the energies are gifting and receiving? And when I work with animals, if I'm not willing to be that, it becomes really hard. I can give you an example from this weekend. I was in Spain and visited my horse, and a friend of mine was there too. And the horse guy that has my horse, he has 4 stable boxes, and there was a new horse, a stallion there. And I didn't know the stallion, but I also clearly noticed when you approached him, he backed off, but quite intensely. Like all the other ones are like hanging out their head, wanting to talk to you, smell you, nibble on you, and just kiss you or whatever. This one was like, who the hell are you? If you reached out your hand, it was like a worst case scenario. You're like, ugh. Even if you have the best food, he would back off directly. So I was like, oh, so I asked Roland, like, what's going on here? I was like, he doesn't trust, he has a trust issue. I'm like, yes, he does. And he said, then he joked, he didn't joke. No, he didn't joke at all. He just said, Lisen, this horse needs your class. And I'm like, you're right, he does. Because whatever issue a person has or a horse, we work with that because we can all gift and receive from that. But I couldn't wait, and we couldn't wait. Jessica and I both were like, next time we came there, we looked and say hi again. And then we were there. I don't remember if it was the 2nd or 3rd day. We were just there and had a little space, and I went up to him. I started talking to him. I asked him questions. And you'll see when you ask question for horse, there's an energy you kind of like go with the question. And when there's no energy, you just ask the next question, till you come somewhere where you start dissolving that. And that can also be that you want to work on the body, because he did not want to be touched. I can't really do that physically. I can do that from a distance, of course. But then I also cleared abuse and all the things he has decided and all the issues he has with people. And then I gave him a lot of space, and I did a different exercise. This is where you get like so many exercises and tools that you apply in your own life. And then you just try them out with horses, because you'll see how it works and how they invite you in. Here you're allowed in, here no. So you're like, okay, let's go where the door's open and there's no force. And one energy that I love is having patience. That wasn't my best things before. Patience and willing to invite them no matter how long time it takes. And that doesn't mean I'm a better person or better healer, facilitator, or whatever, just because I do it quickly with the horse or something like that. Not at all. So just space, whatever it takes, whatever time you need. And then we were working with him. And the funny part was, when I started working with him, it didn't take many minutes. When he started like coming closer and closer, and I took a carrot. Carrots are scary. Anything with food is scary that you have in your hand. So there is things that he has been abused with. Exactly what, I don't know. And the owner wouldn't say anything. They didn't necessarily know either, because it was somewhere else growing up. And it's a young stallion. But we came to a point where he like smelled it, and he did these steps, and it was beautiful to see. And this is where we can invite people to choose. We can invite an animal to choose. You'll see the space and the energy you require to be. And that's where I love the questions. And you get to practice and see, what does it mean to have patience here? What does it mean to have space? No points of view, no expectations, no judgments, no projections. Expectations is really an interesting and tricky one, because we expect sometimes a certain reaction when it's good, a certain change, instead of just allowing them to be. But within minutes, I don't think I worked with him even 10 minutes, he ate his first carrot. And then I had to film it. And that's the film I put out on social media. I talk a little bit Spanish because it's only filmed for the horse guy. And I was like, oh, well, you get to see him, how he's very, very insecure when he tries to take the carrot and all that. And he did it 3 times with me. And then yesterday I kept continued working because I had to do something else. And in the evening, the horse guy comes and it works for him too. And he's like, wow, what did you guys do? So then I explained it a little bit, and he's like, wow, that's really a major step. I can still not touch him in the back and all that. I said, no, it's step by step by step. Isn't it beautiful if we would allow ourselves that kindness of choice, of questions, choice, possibilities, and the contribution we can receive from everything. Not, oh, I have to choose the right thing. And if I choose wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll judge myself for choosing wrong and make it even harder to choose something different, and then project at myself how bad my future will be or whatever. We are not very kind to ourselves. And that's something, for me, it's like, what would it take for change that? What would it take to be truly kind to ourselves and allow us the time, the space, the non-forcing of things into existence, but inviting them. And of course, it's up to me to choose. But if I choose today or tomorrow, it's not better because I choose it today. It's not less good because I choose it tomorrow. It's truly choice. And this is one thing I always look at, like, okay, what gift and invitation can I also be to myself? What am I willing to be to others? Horses and animals have shown me a different way of interacting and being communion with them, where I'm like, oh, what if we people would be the same towards each other? How would it truly be? And if I did not judge anybody, how would the relationships increase or change or be? How can I help people, empower people, contribute to them if I don't have a certain result in mind and allow you to choose the life you desire? Not, well, I've coached people between 15 and 20 years. I can't remember when I started, but it's most likely around 20 years I've been coaching people. And the interesting thing is, in the beginning, I did have a lot more focus on a result. And there was a lot more the way towards a more right choice without knowing it. But I came from a lot of coaching systems. And at some time, of course, you train yourself and you get a lot of experience from coaching. And I can say it's so much more, it's such a joy for me not having to have any point of view of your choice. It's more like, here are the infinite possibilities. You have like a smorgasbord. In Scandinavia, having these big tables with tons of choices to eat that we have in all our festivities. Smorgasbord. It's called like sandwich table, but it's not what it's meant. But basically, you have full choice. There's endless food. You choose. Whatever you choose will be for you at that moment. It will be delicious or not delicious, and then you can choose something else. Wouldn't that be really truly a gift if we did not judge our choice? And our judgment is usually based on the result of our choice. So if I am choosing to create something, depending on what shows up and what I benefit or how much money I make or how much whatever, that's what I then choose to judge if it's good or bad. Now, if I achieved something really good, or I didn't achieve because no money came in, or, you know, all of these things that this world predominantly makes valuable. And for me, it's like, what is it truly that's valuable for me? And one thing for me is, for example, having awareness. I love awareness and interacting with people. I like people. I'm curious of people. And I also really adore them when we come to this point where we can contribute to each other without expectations of it. It's just joyful. And when you are with people that have a lot that energy, it becomes like, why aren't we choosing that all the time? What's wrong? So Sweden is very different to where I don't mean Spain is like this all the time. Absolutely not. But I found a place where people they function from contribution. And I get surprised every time I'm there, because they don't have an intention of them gaining of it, but they will want to contribute to no matter what. And I was like, this is true. It's so much more willingness to know that we're all interconnected. And if there's a contribution going on, it contributes to everybody, but it doesn't mean that you'll gain from it a lot or something like that. And that's interesting to see in action. So that's one of the things I like with being the leader of my life and having that as a question. What would it take to be the leader of my life? What does it look like? What choices can I make today? What contribution can I be? What questions can I ask? What possibilities exist? And being in the question shows there will always show up something like awareness, information, people. I love people show up and they have the information you're asking for. You're like, that's awesome. That's the ease you can create when you're willing to allow things to flow and you're not forcing. I had this German forceful, like, I'll make it work. And I could the thing is, it works. Forcefulness also works. That's why sometimes we don't question it or we keep it long because it still has a benefit. And when I understood that I had learned to work hard to make sure it happens, be efficient and all those things, those qualities, I had to slowly or quickly, whatever I did, choose to change that. If I'm willing to look at what does it mean to be in communion? What does it really mean to be in a question? What does it mean to allow people to fail and to become aware? And it doesn't mean that I have to work with everybody or like and everybody. Absolutely not. And that's where you can change this as well. But I don't have to choose to decide that they're wrong or they're bad workers or whatever, and you have to fire them all or whatever. Where often people do that from reaction because people don't deliver what you want. Of course, if somebody doesn't want to create or contribute, it's time maybe to part. No, that's a natural way. But if you see somebody willing to contribute, but they might have to learn more or they have to fail once or twice, what gift can you be to their life if you're willing to see what that creates further in the future than just your target or your goal that you have in that moment with that person? And this is something that fascinates me when I work with people, is seeing what contribution can I be to them, and what if we all created more and not know only the project but beyond that. And that's something I get so thrilled. And I like business, for example. I love business. I love creating business. I love coaching people to have business and all that. It's just like gets me going. I just love it. I love when people make money. It's fun for me. So when I can, and there is this energy I can contribute to them growing more or creating more, I choose that. It's just fun. Why would we not? I grew up in a family business. I'm very, very grateful for that. They did have a tendency to work quite hard. They did the best they could. I learned a really good stuff about business too, but I also saw the things where I'm like, I'm going to change that because now I have different awareness. We grow, we evolve, we change. So I have a different possibility of choosing now, but I still can take the things with me that were really, really great. And the awareness I have from that, I'm so grateful for. I mean, the whole jewelry business, you could say started when I was 7 or 8, when we were in Argentina. My parents started there buying jewelry there, and then slowly it created a jewelry business that I grew up with. And I can say, wow, yeah, it started for me when I was a kid. Now, since 6 years or something like that, maybe 7, I have my own jewelry business. But I grew with it. I have worked with my parents. I was in their business. So it's always been there. So it's not like I have to do my own because that's the right thing. No, all of this is part of my business. Everything I've received from them, everything I contribute to their business too. So this is where I'm like, you are a leader of your life because you're creating from what you know where you are today. Instead of trying to prove that you're really good or prove that you're successful, what if you allow the gift that you are to you and to everybody else? And do not forget, you are allowed to also be successful. You are allowed to have a lot of money, no matter what. And this is the interesting thing. I came to a moment, I had a little bit challenging situation where I was making a lot more money than people around me. And there was a little bit of this, I want everybody to join and have as much, like a little bit of a socialistic background, but also everybody can. And I didn't want to have more than them. There was a lot of interesting thoughts, interesting judgments in me. So I had to start working with that just because the money was flowing at this moment to my life, it didn't mean that I have to stop myself to wait for others, or it was, I had an advantage that nobody else had. no, I had created that situation in my life that there was more money flowing in. What I then noticed, I could invest things into creating more. I could also include more people in my life. So then I was also, again, willing to see how I could expand with that instead of, I need everybody to join. It was very interesting to see when you see the subtle reactions in yourself. I also remember one of the clear moments I was judged to be rich. And I was like, and I wanted to defend myself from that point of view against it. And I was like, wow, but in their point of view, I am rich. I was like, fuck. And this is where I also got to see, interesting points of view I have. And interesting also, if I was willing to allow them to have their point of view about me, or I wanted to correct them. Because I know how it is, right? Instead of like, everybody's allowed to have a point of view. Everybody's also allowed to have a judgment about me without me reacting to it. Because if I react, there's also very interesting judgments and points of views in me. So when I started reflecting and seeing, that's why I love when there's reactions in me, because then I get aware, where do I function from today? What can I change and clear that is still in me? And this is where I'm not judging my reactions anymore. I'm more like, good, now I can work with that one and change that. Because then I also will have more space being myself instead of needing to have these judgments, because that's the right point of view. A lot of people love their judgments and their story around their judgments, and they feel better because they have the right judgment. And I was like, wow, they have to really invest a lot of energy to have the real right comments, the real right stories, the right way of functioning with the people in certain situations. So I'm like, it's just choice. I rather have more ease with my choices than trying to always defend them, protect them, oh my God, I was good at defending points of views. I could defend them really well, because you learn that also in Germany in school. We always had to reason and have discussions and have a point of view. I mean, if you have one or not outwards, it doesn't matter. We often have them in us, and that also creates reaction. And the less reactions we have, the more ease we have interacting and acting with people. And for me, it's acting I mean action, not acting like in a role acting. So interacting with people. If I have less reactions, I can be much more in the question and receive the persons to see what can I create greater here. So it's so much more ease having less barriers, less judgments and thoughts, and especially also less result focused. I love creating. I'll go for whatever I can and massive, but I won't judge if it doesn't work out. I'll just, let's do something else then. And this is the fun part of creation for me, because creating is full of possibilities any moment. The same thing if you start writing, for example, you can write with more consciousness on it, but you still have to be willing to be present, in control of the horse. You don't control the horse, but in control. You'll see there's a different also in that, and questions, but you still have to choose. Are we going left or right? No, if you allow the horse to choose all the time, it's going to be a very interesting ride, and you're definitely not the leader there. And they will take over. If there's not a leader on them, they'll take over. That's for sure. That's in the animal world in general. And when you're becoming a leader, and it doesn't mean you're trying to choose right, but you lead, they will create with you. And that is so beautiful. That's why I also include horses and do these seminars as well. You don't have to. I'm going to do a lot more of the seminars about horses. It's just a part that is so much more ease. It becomes like this action experience. We're like, now I understand it. It just clicks, makes more ease. That's why I'm talking it about a little bit, but it doesn't mean you have to include horses or animal, but you can become aware of this on your own as well, if you're willing to be more in the question and get out of the judgments and the results and all these focused things and efficiency. That's a challenge in some countries. Is efficiency very challenging to let go. The funny part I've realized when I work with people, when we let go of the efficient part, because it's a very interesting energy and judgment, because when we're efficient, when we decide we're efficient, we basically judge ourselves to be good, that we have accomplished something, that we're doing it right. So that means you must have a lot more judgment to judge if you did it right. And when you take that away, you can use tools to be more aware how things can be created much more ease, often even quicker, and with a, I was gonna say with a bit better result, but then again, most people understand that incorrectly what I mean, but it's so much more fun, and it's a flow, and then it's an engaging, that for me, it's so much more ease. But the other one is full of judgment, and the funny part is they also expect you to judge it to be right. So they're often waiting for the right judgment, because I was efficient, I did it right, and like then they want it acknowledged as well. And I was like, what if we let that go, and we're willing to play together and create greater, and then also use our awareness, and everybody will also have different awareness. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. And this is fun when you interact in a team, all the energy, and also the energy is awareness, and how do you translate an awareness into action? Because the doing part is involved. When it comes from an awareness, it's so much different, instead of conclusions, and conclusions often have points of views and judgment with them. So there's a lot to address there, where it's like it's endless, and I love it because it's exciting, and it involves all of you. And also, often people blossom more when there is an interest in you instead of the right judgment of you. I wanted to check in if there's any questions, any specific area you're curious about, or you want to know something more about, the things that I've been talking about, or something totally different, of course, that's also allowed. So I'm just opening a space for questions if you have something or an area you'd like me to address. What are your thoughts about being the leader of your life? Is it something that you would be willing to ask yourself every day what it means? Or would you like, this is when I do some seminars with this topic, some funny things I sometimes ask them in the beginning, I ask them like, hey, how does a person look like, or you would look like, if you were truly being the leader of your life? What definition do you have about it? What do you expect of yourself? And so it's very good to see what kind of expectations or projections I have about a topic, because they might be laying underneath where it's more unconscious. You're not conscious about them, but they will still create with you. So everything that I'm unconscious about will often activate our reactions or our defense. That's also reaction, our points of views, make us smaller. So often it's good to look at, hey, what expectation do I have here? What projections do I have here? What are my thoughts? Just asking, and not becoming like, I have to find the right answer. I have to create the smart definition of it, because then I'm conscious. And this is where I'm like, if we would get out of those things where we have to prove that we're smart or conscious, it would be way more easy, or more and more easy to be who you're being today. Because the thing, if I'm willing to be myself today, wherever I am with all my limitations and my problems, often we want to be in a little bit better position. We want to make ourselves a bit nicer, a bit better. A lot of people build up images towards other people, so they will be a little bit here, a little bit nicer, polished, right? From there, I often have more lies in my life. There are more lies already hiding who you're truly being, right? So when I ask for change there or whatever, it's not as easy to change, because you're not really you. It's more lies or image, or trying to pretend. If I then go back to myself and I'm willing to like, hey, whatever I'm being today is where I am today. It's honestly just me, with every problem or shit or whatever I have, right? And that's nothing wrong with that. And this is the interesting thing for me, for example, is to see what that means. And And especially things for me to see, because if I'm willing to be aware where I function from by asking questions, it will be much more ease changing things. So much more. If I have a problem and I'm honest with it today, it's way easier to change it than I'm trying to make it a little bit nicer. I'm almost challenging myself not to change it. This is where honesty is so much more easy to even create anything in your life. But honest to yourself is something we have to choose, challenge. Most people lie a lot to themselves. They want to be honest to everybody else and say they're very honest. I think I can, in every class that comes up, I can prove that they're lying to themselves, like a lot. And we don't even notice that we are lying, because we're so used to it. So lies have become this definition of something very serious, but lying is something we do automatically almost every day with the most ease possible. We just start our day by having a thought about our body, and then about the food, and then about somebody else, or about the world, or about the finances, economy. I love it how many people judge or lie about their money situation, because we're so entrained in lack or what we don't have that we're not willing to be honest with what we truly have. So we focus on what we do not have instead of really being where we are and then creating from there. So when we create from lack, it's tougher than creating from where you're truly today. And that's one part I really enjoy a lot, is seeing, okay, how can I change the things with money? How can I do the pragmatic parts of it? But then you have all the emotional, you have the thoughts, you have everything you learn from your surrounding, your parents, and all of that. So again, lots of things to change, but when we're willing to receive us, it's so much easier to receive everything else as well. So those are things that I love looking at, and I adore them because they're so exciting. Our lives are truly exciting, and especially when we start changing the judgments we have about ourselves. And it's really easy to judge ourselves. Everybody's doing it. It almost sometimes we forget that we do it constantly. In a space where, for example, when I'm with animals for a longer time, I cannot have a judgment. It doesn't work to interact, and it doesn't work to receive the information that is there. So I train myself a lot as having a space where there's no judgments and no thoughts to receive the information that's truly there. So for example, I was out riding with yesterday on the horse handler road in Spain. And it was the first day riding. I was like, oh, this is new. It's different. I haven't been riding Kache for a longer time. And my Kache is my horse. And we roll, as funny as he is, he takes us on a ride up the mountains with very narrow paths. And you look down and it's quite steep down. So we're up in mountain tops almost, like it was not totally top, but it was very high up, and we're going up and we're going down and up and into, oh God. And I was like, it definitely challenged some things of height and perspective and also perceiving. And then you have a horse to be aware of their steps and everything. And then I was like, wait a second, the horse does know how to walk, and it has been on this trail more often than me. And then I was like, okay, I have to be willing to be aware of everything, and also where this environment challenges me. Because if that sticks in my body, it can affect the horse a lot more than me just not having an issue on it. But I also got aware a moment where I noticed, oh, I do have a little bit more charge here. And I was leading the group. I was the first one. And I told Denrol, hey, can you go in the front? There's something I perceive that will be better for all of us. And it was so clear in that moment. He needed to go forward from my perspective. And the whole energy changed of the group. And I was like, thank you. And this is where I didn't make myself wrong. I was aware of the energy. I was also aware of a certain limitation I had in that moment. I'm sure I could overcome it, but I also saw what's ease here. Ask him. And he was like, oh, fine. Yes, thank you. Because he had a horse he was training that had never been on this tour. And I was like, Of course he does that. So he often asks me to go first because my horse has so much ease with everything. So the other horse would like, oh, it's not dangerous to go here. It's not dangerous to go those steps down because it's never done it. Some horses react very harsh a lot on environmental things that they've never had before. You can see that it's very challenging for them when they've done it 1 or 2, 3 times. It's just like easy. But the first things is like, wow, their world, seeing the world through a horse that is being trained, it's very interesting to see. And I admire that when people train horses, especially when they sync it with what they're capable to choose in that moment. Some people force training with horses a lot, unfortunately, and some do more natural training where they allow the horse to evolve and grow with every experience. Because when they have time, and horses need sometimes also physical time, it's almost like digesting it. And so do we sometimes as well, where we do not acknowledge that as either, because we decided, oh, it has to go quickly. Who decides that quickly or quicker is something greater for me? And what space and energy and possibility do I require in this moment that could make a leap forward that I didn't even know is possible? So what if we didn't have, or we had less judgments about time, quick, how it should be chosen, the right choice. Let's destroy and create all of that, because we don't require them, because everything is truly a choice, an invitation. I think one of the not greatest, but one really great thing I received from animals is the invitation there being for us to choose greater, for us to be the leaders. And they're basically showing me what it means to be leaders, because they're inviting me to be it, but they're asking also that I choose it. And the co-creation, when I choose to be a leader, and it doesn't mean that I'm choosing right, I just have to choose. They work with you and co-create with you in a totally different way, where you're like, oh, this was what it means when I'm leading. And then it becomes such a natural energy for you, instead of like it's a concept and it has to be like this way or that way. And that's the thing I noticed, that it's such a contribution to work with different people, animals, nature. And the whole planet is here contributing to us. We sometimes just don't ask, we don't include it. And I notice sometimes when I a lot in a city, I'm like, oh, it's different when I come out and work a lot with nature, with animals and things like that. And I was like, oh, thank you. I just have to bring it with me into a city and be very consciously aware to be that energy, to be that space and that choosing, instead of unconsciously allowing everything to affect me. Because that's, of course, also a choice for me. But it's always a training. It's just like, oh, here I can change something. That's a different energy. Oh, thank you so much. Just being in Spain for 3 days or 3.5 days was an extreme gift from my body, for my awareness, for I almost forgot that part of that choice and all of that. So it's very interesting. Everything. That's why I like, what would create greater is a question I often ask when I travel or go somewhere or choose projects, because I also know that will gift me a lot of awareness as well. I'm included in the choice, not it will create greater from a business. And that has often a very nice, interesting result in mind then. So those are the differences we can all learn from, ask about, choose. And there's no right choice. There might be a choice that you don't like as much. Or I often like have this example. Choice is like an ice cream, I was going to say bar, but you know, when you go buy your ice cream, there's different tastes. Some will be delicious. Some will be less delicious. That is choice for me. But it's still an ice cream. It's still an experience. It's just like, that was not exactly the taste I wanted today. Huh, let's choose again. So that is for me choice. Instead of like, lemon was really disgusting. It should not exist on the planet. Should we like eliminate lemon ice cream? Or I like lemon, but whatever lemon, whatever ice cream you don't want today, right? So instead of judging it to be wrong, the flavor, it's really like, huh, interesting. Thank you for the information. Thank you for the experience and awareness. might not be the one I'm choosing again and again. Often, have you ever, I don't know if you've noticed when you're building a business and things like that, you will choose to try lots of things. At least I've built up my business like that, tried so many things. And then out of all the things, when I was building my Access Bars business, for example, I tried so many things about marketing, talking to people. No, it didn't really work, but the awareness I got from it was awesome. Like, it was so great. So I didn't judge, I should have known that didn't work out and blah, blah, blah. I won't necessarily choose it again because it makes no sense. Maybe in a different situation or in a different environment, it can change, it could work. So I still have to be in the question. But it's amazing to try things because you'll get an awareness that the other person does not get, that doesn't try it. So it's a big playground that we can play with, try out with. And then, of course, this thing of gifting and receiving, when we allow the energies to flow, when we allow contribution to be there for you too. This is allowing, for example, when you allow an animal to contribute to you. There's a beautiful exercise in this seminar of Conscious Source, Conscious Writer. It's a trust exercise. I can sometimes do it a little guided for people to really let go of their barriers and all that. And it's one of the exercises I see people transform a lot, because where I invite them to is to a space, an energy where you let go of all your barriers. You let go of all your control, the ones you know and you don't know, every judgment, thoughts, everything in your world. And then you allow the horse to have your back, the horse to contribute to you, the horse to be there in a caring energy. And then you also allow, and when we do that, I often have a group of people supporting you, and also for safety, but really 100% for you there. And a lot of people have never, ever really felt how it is to have a group of people 100% present, 100% present, contributing to you. And then also the universe, having that space of full contribution and receiving it. Because often our guards up, like, I'll receive a little bit, but not too much, because it can backfire and all that. So we let that go 100%, like as much as possible, whatever that means. And it's such, it's one of those things that I get moved every time seeing people going through things, because some people have experienced quite harsh things in their life. And trust is missing. Trust is missing. Like the horse that I work with, he didn't have trust. He didn't have trust for people. I can't expect him to have it, but I can invite him to start one step of trust. And this is the same I do with people. What if you chose to let go of things, to allow things to contribute? Am I willing to trust myself receiving contribution? Because it ends up being also the trust I don't have for me is also reflecting and also connected to all the other people. So often we have quite a beautiful distance to people, a little bit less to animals. That's why it's a beautiful exercise is with a horse that you'll see is 100% there for you, as much time and space you need for that transformation. And then also seeing that people can be there for you and the universe is there. And then it becomes this co-creation communion energy that you could be living every day of your life. Because that becomes a choice, because you know the energy of it. And this can be done in different ways. It's just one way I've seen it beautifully created with horses. So I'm just like in awe what can be possible when we interact with everything that's on the planet. And the planet, what I notice, the planet and universe, and the planet for me is all of us. We can choose where there's more of this energy of contribution and co-creation. And it's up to us, of course. So it's also up to us what environment we have and changing things that don't work for us. So yeah, and that's the same thing we do with the horses that have trust issue or abuse. Often I meet animals that have been abused. I had a class 2 years ago, I think, in a hotel in France that I've found, again, also through the help of my dog. When we were traveling a lot, me and my dog, we found amazing places. I still find them. I love finding really great places to stay, restaurants, hotels, and often it has something with the connection with the people there and what they build up. So I find this amazing restaurant, hour from Bordeaux, I think it's about, um, in Dirac. And the owners fulfilled their dream by creating this at a lake. It's beautiful, the area and the nature. And well, she has a big heart for animals, he does too, and they have land. So what they decided to do is take on rescue animals or animals that have been abused. As long as they have space for them and can take care of them, they do it. So they have one own horse they had from the beginning. Now they have 3 or 4 horses, 3 I think at the moment, 2 llamas, no, alpacas. They have lots of like 3, 4 donkeys. They have a pig. They have small horses, ponies. They have dogs. They have lots of cats. They show up there and stay there. And sometimes they find a new owner. And what I saw there, especially we worked with, especially with the donkeys, because they had a lot of abuse in their body. Again, what invitation can I be and what gift can I be? And we had to work a lot on the things we expected the change because we're nice. So it became a lot of a conversation about relationship also, in what we expect from a relationship that we're building up with an animal, the same with people. And then also, can I be the space to allow that individual? And this is again, horse or animal or people, it doesn't really matter, but you'll see a lot of instant change with animals because it's based on the energy of being and then the action you create with that. But you can't force it. You have to invite them. And then you have to also manipulate a little the situation to create that. And those are things where I have learned so much. And also that it's possible to change. In the world where we work with animals and especially rescue animals, a lot of people keep the story about the animals. They keep on telling that they were abused and rescued. So they live with the story. I've seen a lot of owners that have this, where I see that the horse and the animal cannot change as quickly because we keep on forcing and projecting the story. The story it's past, it's good information for certain things, but you also have to allow them to move forward and beyond the story that has been. So that's the same thing with us. We have our stories, our experiences, and then again, am I willing to go beyond them and create greater and choose something different? Because we all can. And sometimes we also need a bit of inspiration, a bit of coaching, or a bit of a good friend. Like we will need different things that inspire us, where we get more awareness, but it's still up to us choosing. But if sometimes we're like, oh, I'd like some more help, we can ask for that and it will show up. Questions create. They always create. What? I don't know, but they will always create. And when we allow the magic show up, it will be very interesting what contribution you're also willing to receive and the magic that the world creates with you. So that's why I'm also always so excited to work with nature and animals and with people, because we are on the planet together. We're not separated. We are here together and we can contribute both ways. And it's something I just love. Cool. I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but if you have any, or you would like at some point you have any questions, you can always address it to me and send me a message. Because questions always create more for everybody. So it's even often also a very big contribution to myself as well. So everybody, thank you for today. I'm very grateful to have you on, and everybody also listening to this later. Thank you so much, and welcome to join anything you'd like or ask for things. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here and contribute a little bit from the energy and things that I have been working with, and where also the animals have shown me a different possibility. So I'll keep asking, I'll keep on receiving more information and awareness from them and creating with this planet and with you guys. So thank you so much, everybody, and see you somewhere around the world, and have a beautiful evening or afternoon or morning, because I love that we're connecting around the world. That means time is infinite. Time is different everywhere, and it's beautiful. So thank you so much. And yeah, let's continue co-creating around the world and having a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.